Welcome back to Any Recapped. Today we will cover part 2 of Psychic Detective Yakumo. Make sure to subscribe to Any Recapped and hit the bell icon to be the first one to watch our new recaps. Let's begin. A little girl is playing alone when a stranger approaches and assures her that he will protect her. Hijikata is examining the ruined mansion, which has been the subject of several horror tales. She comes into a room and finds a young girl who is unconscious in one of the rooms. She soon rouses her and tells her that a ghost has assaulted her. Yakumo is relaxing in his room when Haruka walks in and tells him about her upcoming concert. He agrees to attend because he believes he will be free that day, and she promises to provide him with a ticket. She is about to depart where she finds a map with a highlighted spot. Following that, Detective Goto seeks Yakumo's assistance in investigating a reported ghost video made at Nana's mansion, where 4 members of the Nana's family were killed 15 years ago. Hijikata Makoto received the footage, which scriptwriter Hoshin Yukiko shot. When Yakumo sees the ghost in the video, he travels there without telling anybody and begins investigating on his own. Haruka tries to find him in his chamber and visits the abandoned mansion, but he is nowhere to be found. Maya approaches Goto and brings him to a pub to tell him more about the case. She remembers witnessing the Nana's families and their daughters' corpses standing at the entrance. However, before she could approach her, she was struck in the head by someone she did not consider humane. Maya tells him about Takeda, who was a suspect in the case but believes he isn't the sort of person who would kill someone. They interview Hoshin, the girl saved by Hijikata, the next day, and Goto sees that she resembles the lady seen around Yakumo's father, but is skeptical of his observation. Following a short interview, Goto and Yunaru proceed to the Nana's mansion to continue their investigation. Yutaro, who's scared of ghosts, chooses to stay outside while the others investigate. Miyuki Menes, the same lady as Yakumo's father, attacks Goto inside the mansion. She electrocutes him without allowing him to defend himself. Miyuki was reportedly taken on the same day as the Nana's family murders but has since gone missing. Yakumo locates the location of the ghost video and sees a weird wall. However, before he can explore more, he is ambushed by Miyuki, who sits coldly on his body and does not allow him to move. She professes to be deeply in love with him, so much so that she wants to bring darkness onto him and destroy him. With Yakumo and Detective Goto going, Yutaro is forced to investigate on his own. They manage to reach Haruka with the aid of Hijikata, and the 3 meet with Yakumo's uncle. They notify him of his unknown location and the reason for his departure. As they play the video for him, his uncle learns that the ghost is his sister, Yakumo's mother, Azusa, and that this is why he departed to investigate on his own. They all head outdoors for some fresh air, and Yutaro laments how ineffective he was. Hijikata follows him, and the two talk about how remarkable and powerful Haruka is. Yakumo's uncle, on the other hand, tells Haruka about Yakumo's childhood, when he tried to stab himself in the eye because of his red eye. He did, however, recover from his despair. When they return, they go through the footage again. Yutaro immediately discovers that Yakumo is carrying a map, causing Haruka to verify it. Using the map, she determines that the ghost film was not recorded at the Nana's home, and both Hijikata and Yunaru confirm that Hoshin Yukiko is a fake. Yakumo's uncle begins asking about her family history and tells her that, much to her amazement, Yakumo's mother used to get letters from her mother. He tells how Azusa was abducted and kept hostage when she was young. She ultimately escaped 2 weeks later with the help of Haruka's mother, Kiko. They remained in contact, and Aishin had an unread letter from Kiko to Azusa. He doesn't have the confidence to open it since he sees it as their family's Pandora's box, so he gives it over to Haruka. When they open it outdoors, the letter discloses that Azusa's fiancé is Shunsu Takeda, a suspect in the Nana's family massacre. At the police station, Yutaro requests that he check through Takeda's records again, but Maya protests because the matter has already been closed. To assist him, she sends him to the restroom where the papers are kept and instructs him to locate Goto. He reassures her and then contacts Goto's wife to vow to assist her husband. Meanwhile, Miyuki is spotted outside Haruka's apartment, plotting to kidnap her and torment her in front of Yakumo to cause him further harm. Shunsu Takeda arrives suddenly, promising to protect Haruka and drawing the cops towards him. Miyuki flees, realizing she is at a disadvantage. Haruka awakens to discover Takeda's spirit alerting her of Yakumo's location and imploring her to rescue him. He vanishes before she has a chance to ask him any more questions. Yutaro eventually discovers Miyuki's identity and rushes after her. Yutaro and Hijikata uncover the location where Detective Goto might well be detained after interrogating her teacher, and when they arrive, they find him tied up in a hidden chamber inside the Nana's mansion, with small assistance from Takeda. After untying Detective Goto, he claims that Takeda's ghost warned him that Yakumo's father planned to murder Haruka in front of Yakumo. She makes a call to her mother and heads to Nagano, the city where Yakumo's mother was sexually assaulted, Miyuki follows her the whole way but chooses not to confront her. Haruka and her mother arrive at the suspected location, where she discovers Yakumo pinned to a chair with scars on his chest. Haruka, believing Yakumo is dead, begins sobbing and declaring her love for him. However, he abruptly awakens and tells her that he is weak as a result of the medications he was given. They leave home together, but Miyuki shows up and attempts to murder Haruka. Fortunately, Detective Goto and his team arrive on the scene. That lady was discovered to be Nanas Miyuki, the true perpetrator of the Nanas quadruple murder. As she prepares to assault Haruka, Yakumo's mother's soul assists them by apprehending Nanas. Goto explains that Takeda revealed the truth about Yakumo's mother to him at the Nanas mansion. Takeda had proposed to Azusa, but the trauma of his arrest in the Nanas family massacre was too much for her. Furthermore, her rapist, Yakumo's father, tortured and deceived her by claiming that Yakumo would murder more people than Takeda due to his red eyes. To drive her even madder, he killed Takeda to keep him silent. Azusa's despair and anxiety eventually prompted her to attempt to murder Yakumo. Yakumo ultimately learns that his mother loved him and confronts his father about his loss. He and Nanas, on the other hand, can hold their ground against them. Yakumo feels he can overtake and overcome them now that his allies are on his side. Before departing, they notified him that they would be at his door shortly. They find Azusa and Takeda's corpses, and their souls communicate with one another through Yakumo before departing peacefully. Yakumo also claims that he just recently discovered that his mother and Takeda were in love. When Haruka asks why, he doesn't respond. Haruka and Yakumo follow Haruka's mother to the train station, where she teases them about their feelings for each other. She promises them she will deliver them something, though they don't hear what since the train door is shutting as she speaks. Makoto Hijikata is speaking with a doctor at a hospital. The doctor tells her about a ghost that appears and asks patients when they will die, but she advises her not to report it since she doesn't want reporters at their hospital. Hijikata offers to forward this case to a specialist she knows, Yakumo. She runs into Seigu Ishin, and now, after the doctor has left, Ishin informs her that he has come to see a doctor due to recurrent headaches. During their conversation, his daughter goes out to meet a little girl in a wheelchair, who starts telling her about how human lives are brief. Meanwhile, the police apprehend Miyuki Nanas, the suspect in the quadruple Nanas murder case. While imprisoned, she hopes Yakumo's father will return to release her, just like he did when she was younger. On the other hand, the doctor informs Ishin that his death is imminent and that he only has approximately a year to live. Before departing to hunt for his daughter, he looks at the cherry tree to remind himself of its impermanence. During his search, he encounters a little girl in a wheelchair, who informs him, much to his surprise, that he is about to die. However, he tells her that death is something that all humans must accept since everything has an end and all lives are fleeting. Ishin calms her up as they discuss what happens after they die by reminding her that even when individuals die, their loved ones keep their memories and so live forever. After soothing her, he encourages her to become friends with Mao, to which she gladly agrees. Later that day, Yakumo travels to the temple to borrow a vehicle from his uncle to explore the hospital ghosts. Ishin gives them a box from Haruka's mother before they depart. The item is discovered to be an album she prepared with images of Yakumo as a youngster provided to her by Yakumo's mother. Ishin is taken aback by how happy his sister seems in the images and remarks that despite having known her for the longest time, he has never seen her smile like that. Following that, Ishin brings him inside the temple, where he tells Yakumo of his diagnosis and limited time. Yakumo is shocked to find that his soul family is abandoning him on an unending voyage, but he controls his feelings. Meanwhile, Miyuki Nanas informs Goto and his superior that Yakumo's father intends to murder Ishin. Yakumo and Haruka arrive at the hospital to investigate the ghosts, accompanied by Haruka, who advises them of the institution's nighttime restrictions. Meanwhile, Goto and Yutaro hurry to Ishin's aid at the temple. While Yutaro waits outside, Goto enters and looks for Ishin, who has gone out with his daughter. He soon returns, though, and learns that his enemy is attempting to murder him. He urges Goto to look after Yakumo, and admits that he used to despise him for including Yakumo in his investigations, but no longer does since he is a man of trust. Yakumo's father enters, and Ishin knocks Goto out before engaging the enemy on his own. He invites him to a short talk since the two of them are linked to Yakumo, and on the inside tells him how much he despises him for making his sister's life a living misery, but states that he has long tossed those sentiments into the ocean. Yakumo's father promptly stabs him since he does not want to hear anything more from him. Goto awakens to see him injured and calls an ambulance so that he might be saved. Haruka and Yakumo are inspecting when they see the girl's ghost. They come upon her apologizing to a patient she earlier confronted. Haruka and Yakumo ultimately found out about Ishin's injuries thanks to God's call and went over there. Yakumo realizes that he faced his father on his own and died without caring about his death since he knew his time was gone. The doctor ruled him brain dead due to severe blood loss. Goto isn't convinced and protests, but Yakumo calms him down. Ishin's final desire is for Goto to watch after Nao, so he brings her to his home with the aid of his wife. Even though he is leaving shortly, his wife and Haruka spend some time there, and his wife explains that he seldom comes home owing to his job. Yutaro's deductions and forensic evidence indicate that Yakumo's father is a ghost, but one who can interact with the material world. Maya tells Goto that taking care of Nao is much more essential than anything else and sends him home to play with her. Yakumo's father possesses Miyuki at the jail, so she may be taken to the hospital. Yakumo is given something that means a lot to him, and he thanks Haruka for it. Haruka inquires what the hospital would do with Ishin's body, and Yakumo tells her that he is registered as a donor and that they would collect his organs as soon as his kin, Yakumo himself, consents. He will not consent, though, until he is certain of his death. They suddenly see the young girl's spirit hovering above Ishin and follow it to the little girl's room, whom Ishin met in the hospital. Yakumo discovers that Yoshiko is the daughter of Prof. Sakakibara, who was the attending doctor the night Ishin was attacked. He discovers more evidence that Prof. Sakakibara was the true assailant of his uncle in the smashed mirror that he sideswiped while running back to the temple. Haruka returns and meets with Goto, who tells her how he met Yakumo. During one of his searches, he ran across Yakumo for the second time in a park and didn't recognize him. It wasn't until later that he realized he was the same boy he had previously rescued from his mother. Suddenly, he learns that Miyuki has fooled and is on the run. His wife phones him, and while they are chatting, she notices Yakumo in the hospital and alerts her husband. Yakumo confronts the doctor, revealing that his reason for assaulting Ishin is to harvest his organ and use it to save his daughter. Because he cannot escape by car, the doctor decides to flee by helicopter, but Yakumo succeeds in cornering Sakakibara on the hospital helipad. He attempts to justify his actions by telling him that the life of a child is much more valuable than the life of someone who would die in a year. On the other hand, Yakumo believes that his views are flawed since it is wrong to terminate another human's life, especially as a physician. He admits that Yakumo's father urged him to murder Ishin. He begins assaulting Yakumo in the hopes of fleeing, but he eventually fails. Soon later, Goto, Ishii, Haruka, Nao, and Makoto arrive. His father suddenly arrives and warns him about the evil in the human heart. Yakumo is unconcerned by his father's manipulation and verifies that he is a ghost of the dead. Miyuki emerges out of nowhere, holding a gun, and Miyuki shoots Goto in the abdomen to instill anger in Yakumo, allowing his father's ghost to try possession. Miyuki reveals that the goal of enticing Yakumo into the darkness is to guarantee that his mental condition is almost identical to his father's, enabling his father and soul to fuse in his father to take over his body. Yakumo looks to be possessed by his father since both of his eyes have turned red. Nonetheless, he has duped Miyuki by wearing his uncle's red lens. As Miyuki approaches him for a hug, he succeeds in disarming her. Despite his anger at him for murdering his uncle, Yakumo agrees to sign the organ release form to rescue Sakakibara's daughter, but only if Sakakibara gives himself over to the police. He turns around and confronts his father, letting him know that Ishin is the only one he considers his father. Before leaving, his father tells him that as long as his spirit lives, he will follow him till the day he dies. Miyuki acknowledges that his father did not love her, but she has followed him since he rescued her as a youngster. She flees because she has no other option. Miyuki drives a vehicle into the lake after fleeing the hospital, and her corpse is never located despite a comprehensive investigation. Goto and his wife make the decision to adopt Nao as their child. Yakumo spotted his uncle's soul lingering about after his uncle's burial and convinced him to depart by promising him that both Nao and he would be oak, and that they had a family. Haruka approaches him and soothes him after seeing his distressed state. After recovering, the wheelchair girl chooses to construct a little statue of Ishin as a thank you for educating her about life. Thank you so much for staying until the end. Make sure to subscribe to Any Recap for more similar videos. Bye.